Welcome to Mindfulness. In our hurried lives, we sometimes chase grand ambitions, forgetting the simplest, most intimate things. Today, we'll listen to the story of Ethan and Rachel, a gentle yet profound narrative that reminds us of the power of presence, of true connection in every relationship. Join us as we search for the heart of the family on this emotional journey. From the outside, Ethan Carter's life looked settled. A rising architect with awards on his shelf, a designer home he built himself, a wife and 2 kids who waved from the driveway when he left for work. Everything seemed perfectly in place, except for what no one could see. Inside the walls of that quiet house, connection had thinned like fading paint. Ethan wasn't unkind or cruel, he was simply busy, consumed by work and the rhythm of providing. He answered emails late into the night and missed family dinners with a smile that said, "I'll make it up to you," though he rarely did. Rachel, once a painter, now moved through her days like background music, soft, present, but rarely noticed. Her world had become smaller: grocery lists, laundry piles, school drop-offs. Her easel gathered dust in the garage. Their conversations had narrowed to logistics. The warmth, the laughter, the little nothings they once shared had quietly slipped away. Rachel felt herself becoming invisible, not unloved, but unseen. And that, somehow, hurt even more. That fateful Wednesday morning, it happened without fanfare. While the house still hummed with sleep, Rachel stood at the kitchen counter, her tea cooling beside her. The early light illuminated dust motes, a quiet backdrop to a moment long coming. She took paper and wrote, not with anger, but with raw need. She needed time, not to run, but to remember who she was before she faded. She placed the letter on the kitchen table, near the children's breakfast. Then, with a small bag, she quietly drove toward the Oregon coast, a place where she used to feel whole. When Ethan awoke, the house was strangely still. He initially assumed she was out, but then he saw the letter. His eyes scanned the words, but his mind resisted. It wasn't angry, not loud, and that made its truth harder to grasp. Rachel had reached her limit, not with shouting, but with quiet. She left not from bitterness, but from quiet necessity. He sat at the table, letter in one hand, cold coffee in the other. The house, full of family echoes, suddenly felt hollow. Not broken, just missing something essential. For the first time in years, Ethan felt the weight of her absence. And crucially, he realized how long her presence had gone unnoticed. The first day passed for Ethan in a daze. He fumbled through tasks, packing lunches, losing keys, staring at his children as if they were strangers. He'd always prided himself on being dependable, but without Rachel, the house's rhythm felt foreign. Emma watched him with quiet, searching eyes. Noah, however, cut directly to the core. "Where's Mom?" Ethan's answer felt hollow, unsure what to say or how little he truly knew. Sleep wouldn't come that night. He wandered through rooms filled with shared history, photos, a familiar green blanket. A chilling realization struck him. He couldn't remember the last time he'd asked about Rachel. Just Rachel, not her roles. He began to feel her absence everywhere. The empty mug, her untouched sketchbook. It wasn't a loud void, but it permeated every space. The second night hit harder. Alone on the couch, the silence pressed in. He had lived beside Rachel for years, without truly being with her. Now, without her, the weight of everything unsaid became crushing. Memories surfaced, her adjusting his collar, the scent of her hair, her soft, air-softening laugh. How long had it been since he'd made her laugh? A slow, burning regret bloomed within him. It wasn't panic, but a profound need to re-examine the life he'd thought so solid. Rachel's letter had asked for nothing, yet its gentle honesty held a mirror. For the first time in a very long time, Ethan looked into it. By the end of the week, Ethan returned to work cloaked in a strange hollowness. Meetings blurred, deadlines loomed, yet their urgency felt diminished. He offered vague explanations for Rachel's absence. A break, a visit to her father, words that sounded reasonable to others, but felt utterly disingenuous to him. Laura, his sharp, composed colleague on a major project, noticed his shift. Their professional closeness had always been comfortable, though never inappropriate. That Friday evening, after a long strategy session, Laura lingered. Her gentle invitation to grab a drink offered a tempting ease, a reprieve from his crushing solitude. At the bar, conversation flowed effortlessly, reminiscent of early days with Rachel. Laura made him laugh. She listened. She leaned in. Yet, a knot tightened in Ethan's chest. As she lightly touched his arm, a quiet, insistent warning bell rang. He saw Rachel's face, not angry, just the resigned image of her placing that letter in their kitchen. He pulled back, a profound realization taking hold. She never stopped showing up, he murmured, more to himself. Laura looked puzzled. He gently shook his head. Thanks for the company, but I need to go home. His decision wasn't merely about fidelity, it was about presence, about finally choosing long-term meaning over momentary comfort. That night, he entered the silent, shadowed house. The tears didn't come immediately, but eventually, the full weight broke him. Not because Rachel was gone, but because he had finally grasped how long she had been silently slipping away. As the days passed, regret and guilt welled up in Ethan's heart. Rachel's silence was a wall he couldn't overcome. With no other choice and growing desperate, he finally picked up the phone and called George, her father. I don't know where she is, Ethan began, his voice raw. But I think I finally understand why she left. George didn't interrupt, allowing the heavy pause to stretch until Ethan filled it himself. I wasn't cruel, but I wasn't there either. Not truly. Still, George remained silent, a testament to his quiet wisdom. Then, his voice gentle, if you're ready to find her, not just to bring her back, but to see her again, you'll know where to go. And a profound clarity settled over Ethan. He knew. The next morning, he drove west, towards the Oregon coast. The familiar winding roads rekindled old memories, their honeymoon, a forgotten anniversary picnic, the very spot where Rachel had once painted a seascape just for him. He found a small seasonally rented cottage. The sky was overcast, the air thick with salt and wind, and his hands trembled on the steering wheel as he parked. Rachel was there, sitting on the porch, sketchbook in her lap, her hair loosely tied. She didn't appear surprised to see him, only tired, yet not closed off. Ethan approached slowly, wary of shattering the fragile moment. There was no grand apology rehearsed, no practiced speech, just a man who had finally stopped running from the immense void he had created. He sat beside her. "I wasn't the man you deserved," he began, his voice quiet with genuine remorse. "Not because I stopped loving you, but because I stopped showing you. And I see now the impossible distance you had to travel just to be heard." Rachel didn't speak immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on the sea, her fingers gently tracing the edge of her sketchbook. Finally, her voice, soft yet firm, "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you either. I left because I couldn't keep disappearing and still stay whole." They sat in silence then, but it was a different kind of silence this time. Not empty, but nascent, pregnant with unspoken possibilities. And for the first time in a very long while, Ethan reached for her hand, not out of habit, but out of a fragile, burgeoning hope. Rachel didn't return with Ethan that same day. There were still wounds, still questions unspoken. But something had shifted. A door opened, not all the way, but enough for light to get in. 2 days later, she came home. Emma ran into her arms first. Noah followed, holding up a crayon drawing of their family with all 4 figures drawn close together again. There were no dramatic speeches, no apologies rehearsed, just hugs that lingered longer than usual, and a quiet dinner where everyone stayed at the table just a little later. Ethan didn't try to fix everything at once. He started small. He moved weekend meetings off his calendar. He cooked breakfast, badly but earnestly. He asked Rachel about her day and listened, really listened, even when her words trailed into silence. Rachel didn't rush to forgive. She watched. She waited. But slowly, she let herself soften. She began painting again, quietly at first, during the kids' school hours. One afternoon, Ethan cleared a space in his office and hung the first painting she ever gave him. It wasn't a big gesture, but it told her he remembered. Friday nights became family night, not because they needed structure, but because they finally valued time together again. Board games replaced screen time. Laughter began returning in little bursts. There were still tired days, still unwashed dishes and short tempers, but something essential had changed. Not the conditions of their life, but the posture of their hearts. One evening, when the kids were asleep, Ethan reached for Rachel's hand. No rush, no performance. I used to think love was something you feel once, and if it's real, it stays. But now I know it's something you have to choose, over and over. Rachel smiled softly. We weren't perfect, but we didn't give up. They sat together in the backyard, a small fire crackling beside them. The stars blinked overhead. For the first time in years, the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was whole. Sometimes, love doesn't roar back like thunder. Sometimes it returns gently, like morning light after a long, dark storm. Love, as Ethan and Rachel learned, isn't a static destination. It's an ongoing journey. It has its turbulent storms and its serene dawns. But what truly defines happiness isn't the absence of struggle. It's the unwavering decision to stay, to choose to love, passionately and imperfectly, day after challenging, beautiful day. Life is full of storms. Sometimes it's the words left unspoken. Other times, it's the quiet distance that grows between two people who once loved deeply. But here's the miracle. When we choose not to walk away, when we stay and allow space for healing, light does return. True love isn't proven by the promises we make at the beginning. It's proven by the moments we choose each other again, even after the hurt. Not everyone gets a perfect marriage, but everyone can learn to love again, starting with compassion, starting with humility, starting from within. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking the video, leaving a comment about what part moved you most, and subscribing for more soulful stories like this. We'd also love to hear from you. What kind of story would you like us to tell next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps shape the heart of this channel. Until next time, stay kind, stay present, and never underestimate the quiet power of love.